Hello, my name is Khadija Muhammad, and in this video, I'll explain my machine learning project, which focuses on understanding how social media use affects trauma responses among young adults. The aim of this project was to apply machine learning techniques to analyze survey data and predict a trauma response score based on social media usage patterns. The survey was manually made by me, and this is primary data. This topic is important because social media plays a major role in young adults' lives and can influence how they cope with emotional distress and trauma. The main problem addresses in this project is that the impact of social media on trauma coping is complex and not fully understood. While social media can provide support and distraction, it may also increase stress or trigger negative emotions. The objectives of this project were to analyze survey data collected from young adults, to identify key factors related to social media use and trauma coping, to build and compare machine learning modules that can predict trauma responses, to evaluate which model performs better and interpret the results. For data collected, the data set consists of 100 participants, which meets the minimum requirement for machine learning analysis. The features include numerical data, categorical data or variables, and ordinal variables, which were Likert scale questions. Questions were measuring agreement with statements related to stress, avoidance, coping, and emotional expression on social media. The targeted variable was overall the overall trauma responses score. For data processing, before training the module, several processing steps were applied. First, categorical variables were converted into numerical format using one-hot encoding, allowing the module to interpret them correctly. Secondly, missing values were handled using mean imputation, ensuring that no data was lost and that the module could be trained without errors. Finally, the data was split into training and testing sets to fairly evaluate model performance on unseen data. For module development, two machine learning modules were developed and compared. First, linear regression module was used as a baseline model. It assumed a simple linear relation between the features and targeted variable. While it is easy to interpret, it struggled with nonlinear patterns. I also added random forest regressor, was then implemented as the main model. This model worked by combining multiple decision trees and averaging their predicts and predictions. It is particularly effective for capturing nonlinear relationship and interactions between features. Results and evaluations. The module was evaluated using R square score and root mean squared errors, RMSE. The results showed that linear regression achieved higher performance, indicating ability, and higher R square score, and also higher RMSE, meaning it explained more and made more accurate predictions, while random forest regressor had a lower R square score and lower RM. Now for graphs and results. There was one graph for future importance analyzing from the random forest model shows that variables related to stress levels, avoidance behaviors, and emotional express and perceived impact of social media were the most influential predictors. Here is the graph of the random forest future importance, and then one graph for actual versus predicted values to know how well the module worked. and a graph for R2 score comparison graph and RMSE comparison graph. And now, to make the project more interactive and practical, a graphical user interface was developed using the Gardio library. The interface allowed users to input information. I created a prediction function to make sure that it will work well on the um, interface. So I used Gradio for building the interface, and the interface allowed users to input information such as age, gender, education level, and responses to selected Likert scale questions. The system then predicts a trauma response score categorized as low, medium, and high. This demonstrates how the module could be used in real world education or support contexts. Here it shows how the interface works. So there is an explanation of each choice and of the prediction result. You can add your age first by typing the number and then adding the gender, choosing education level, choosing region of residence, and answering some questions related to stress and social media and trauma. After that, when you click the submit button, it will predict the results and it will shows that, for example, the predicted trauma score is 2.6, which means medium trauma response. And it can save the data. That's it, and thank you so much for watching the video.